Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to One Civil Law, where, as always, we learn through the misfortunes of others. I'm your host on Civil Law, a licensed attorney in Texas, Virginia, and before the United States Supreme Court. And we are here with the verdict announcement from Taylor Schabusiness. She was found guilty, but I thought we would watch it and also the judge's discussion as to what will happen in phase 2 of the trial. So I pick up here as the judge is about to enter, and Ms. Schabusiness is about to learn her fate. So we will watch this and then we'll comment on what is happening in this. By the way, I had a very nice workout at the gym. That's why I wasn't streaming it live. I went to the gym and I crushed iron things. I lifted things and I put them down, and then I lifted them and put them down. So I had a great workout. So the jury apparently took something like 42 minutes, which, sounds about right. All right, let's watch this thing. This will be fun.
My understanding is the jury has a verdict. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Anything to bring up before we bring the jury in? Mr. Saunders?
No.
Mr. Fraley?
No.
Very good. Then we'll bring the jury in.
$42 minutes, huh? Makes you wonder what they discussed for like 40 of them. The answer was 42. Very well observed, Nikki. Very nice. Well observed.
Okay, be seated. Ma'am, were you the foreperson? And my understanding is that the jury has reached a verdict. Is that correct? Yes. All right. If you would hand that to the bailiff then, please.
Is Miss Schabusiness trying to look sad? She's trying to find a tear in her eye.
Okay.
Have a little sip of water there.
First verdict reads as follows. We, the jury, find the defendant, Taylor Denise Schabusiness, guilty of first-degree intentional homicide as charged in count 1 of the information, dated this date.
It's also
July
interesting they don't have the
26th,
defendant stand when the verdict is
signed
read.
by
That's
the
interesting,
foreperson.
too, just as a
Second
way of
verdict
how they
reads
do
as
things in this
follows. We,
courtroom.
the jury, find the defendant, Taylor Denise Schabusiness, guilty of mutilating a corpse as charged in count 2 of the information, dated this date, July 26th, 2023, signed by the foreperson. The next verdict reads, we, the jury, find the defendant, Taylor Denise Schabusiness, guilty of third-degree sexual assault as charged in count 3
Bill
of the
gets a little bit
information,
closer.
dated
just in
this
case.
date, 26th day of July, 2023, signed by the foreperson. The verdicts appear to be in order. Do either of the parties request that I poll the jury? Mr. Saunders?
No.
Mr. Freilich?
Yes.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to do what's called polling the jury. It's a very simple process. All I'm going to do is go down the line and ask each of you if this is your verdict. Your answer is either yes or no. I'm going to start in the back corner, ma'am. Are these your verdicts?
Yes.
Ma'am, 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 are these your verdicts?
Yes.
Sir, are these your verdicts?
Yes.
Ma'am, are these your verdicts?
Yes.
In the front to the right, ma'am, are these your verdicts?
Yes.
Sir, are these your verdicts?
Yes.
Sir, are these your verdicts?
Yes.
Sir, are these your verdicts?
Yes.
Ma'am, are these your verdicts? Okay, the jury has now been polled.
Easy enough, right?
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, for today, your tasks are concluded. We're going to start tomorrow morning on the second phase, at which point in the beginning I will give you some further instructions, and then we will get underway on that phase. The attorneys and I have a few things that we're going to need to take up before that phase starts, so I'm going to ask that you be in the jury room by 9:15. I want to start right at 9:15, and we will hopefully get our matters resolved ahead of that time. But for today, your service is concluded. I am going to, again,
We'll discuss
read
the
you
second phase in just a second.
that instruction that I've done every day since you've started. Please do not communicate with anyone about this trial or your experience as a juror while you are serving on this jury. Do not use a computer, cell phone, or other electronic device with communication capabilities to share any information about this case. For example, do not communicate by blog, email, text message, Twitter, or in any other way on or off the computer. Do not permit anyone to communicate with you, and if anyone does so despite your telling them not to, you should report that to me. I appreciate that it is tempting when you go home in the evening to discuss this case with another member of your household, but you may not do so. This case must be decided by you, the jurors, based upon the evidence presented in the courtroom. People not serving on this jury have not heard the evidence, and it is improper for them to influence your deliberations and decision in this case. After this trial is completed, you are free to communicate with anyone in any manner. We are done for today. Have a good evening. We will see you tomorrow morning at 8:50 or 9:15 sharp. All rise for the jury. Be seated. Is the matter regarding Dr. O'Donnell still a contested issue?
All right. So before we move on to what they're going to be talking about now, so we done phase 1 of this thing in Wisconsin. All right. So different states deal with this different ways when it comes to insanity and insanity plea. Some states fold it in to there is no separate plea of not guilty by insanity. Some states don't allow it. Now, in states that don't allow it, you can still argue it. You just can't plead it. In that situation, it would be just a straight not guilty. Because what you're doing in that situation is you're saying that you didn't form the intent, right? I legally did not form the intent, therefore I'm going to attack the mental state. So in some states, they don't let you plead not guilty by reason of insanity, but you can argue not guilty by reason of insanity. So it's a sort of a technical distinction between the two. So for example, in Idaho, they don't allow it as a separate plea, but you can argue it. You're just basically saying, yes, I lacked one of the elements of the crime, right? Because the state has to prove each and every element of the crime. And one of the elements of the crime is the mental state. And you're saying, I lacked the mental state because I was unable to form the mental state due to a mental condition. So that's one option, okay, in those states. Some states allow it as part of the trial itself. So the verdict can be guilty, not guilty, or not guilty by reason of insanity as part of the initial thing. So the jury can come back with one of 3 verdicts in that situation, right? Guilty, not guilty, or not guilty by reason of insanity. Not guilty by reason of insanity, of course, incurs penalties in a civil sense, not a criminal sense. So you're not criminally guilty, but you're civilly guilty. So that would incur civil commitment. And then, of course, Wisconsin is doing this in a way that I've never seen done before, where they do it on the back end. So you could still argue, I didn't form the intent. You could still attack it as a straight not guilty. But you also have this second option to argue, yeah, I did it, but basically I lacked, it's essentially a diminished capacity defense. It's similar to a diminished capacity defense, but they allow it on the back end of it, where you have to prove that I had a situation that impacted my ability to form the intent, perhaps not all the way to a not guilty verdict, but in some other lesser way. It's sort of what's going on, and I'm just trying to explain it in a way that makes sense. So what's interesting is that in all those situations, well, I suppose not so if it's straight not guilty, but at least in this situation, the defense now has the burden of proof because the defense is making the affirmative argument, right? The party that has the burden of proof is the party that's trying to change reality. So if you want to know who has the burden of proof, it's the party that's trying to change the status quo. That's always the answer. So if on appeal, the reason that the defense has the burden of proof or the burden to win is because they're trying to change the status quo. It's always whoever has to change the status quo is the person who has the burden of proof. So the status quo at step 0 was she was innocent until proven guilty, right? So the status quo at step 1 was innocent until proven guilty. That status quo has now changed. She is now guilty. So now the defense wants to change the status quo. So now it's the defense's burden. The defense has to prove the burden through admissible evidence that her insanity was of such a nature that it operates as a legal excuse, not justification, as an excuse, because it attacks, again, one of the mental states of that. And that's just how Wisconsin goes about it. It's a really interesting way of doing it. I've never seen it done this way before, but that's how Wisconsin goes about it. So apparently also the jury only has to agree by 5/6, which is to say 10 out of 12. So it doesn't have to be unanimous in the second phase. The jury only has to agree to 10 people, 10 out of 12, which, is just how Wisconsin does it. They don't have to do it that way. They could make it unanimous, but they don't. They say, okay, if 10 of you agree, then that's enough to change the status quo. And it's something the defense is asking for, right? So there's no prejudice to the defense by a non-unanimous verdict because it's something the defense wants. So we could insist on a unanimous verdict, but something less than unanimous is to the defendant's benefit. So there's no due process problem. So what the defense has to show, essentially, is they have to show that she lacked mental capacity, or I suppose physical capacity in some sense. So you could either show this organically, there's some sort of organic defect to the brain, right? There's something physically wrong with your brain, and which can be true through a whole bunch of conditions or situations, or from drug use, potentially. I would imagine that drug use could actually physically change the brain, cause part of the brain to die, stroke, you were shot in the head, whatever. Or you fell on a horse once. I saw that argued, right? You fell from a horse and that caused some organic injury to your brain that caused some sort of problem, right? So you argue either there's a physical problem with the brain itself, or you argue that there is a mental problem that is a psychosis that reaches the nature of being a mental infirmity. Now, what they can't argue is mere intoxication, because voluntary intoxication is not an excuse legally. They can't raise mere intoxication if she voluntarily consumed the substance, which she did. So they can't argue intoxication. They can't argue she was under the influence. That doesn't work. They have to argue that through some mechanism, whether that's drugs or otherwise, she was driven insane, not merely pliable. And there's a significant difference to that. And so this witness that they're arguing about, part of the reason they're arguing about it is because exactly what the witness will be able to testify to for this distinction. The witness should not be allowed to testify that the defendant was merely intoxicated, right? Even acutely intoxicated. That's not enough. It requires more. So that's part of the argument about what is this person going to be able to testify to and what can they testify. There also seemed to be an argument about whether they would testify at all, because there seemed to be some indication based on the preliminary arguments that the person was only going to be testifying in a more hypothetical sense about what could be true about a person, right? Not necessarily what's true about Schabusiness in particular, right? It seemed like, and maybe we'll get into this, it seemed like they're going to be like, well, a person who uses methamphetamine could have a condition that could lead to this. And it's like, no, right? You can't just speculate. You have to tie it to this person. You have to say that this actually occurred to this person. So are you testifying about merely intoxication, in which case, go away? Or are you testifying about merely a hypothetical possibility that could occur to a person, in which case, go away? So that's sort of what they're arguing about. So we'll see how that all goes. So hopefully that helps to explain some of that, because it's a little bit complicated. So we'll listen to what they're arguing about, but that's what they're arguing about.
I'm seeing nods from the state.
As of last night, yes.
Okay. So here's how we're going to handle this. I've indicated to the jury that I want them to report at 9:15. Mr. Freilich, it's entirely up to you if you want to bring Dr. O'Donnell here tomorrow morning at 8:15 for me to hear from. But I'm going to indicate to you the parameters of where that situation is. I've reviewed your memorandum, which is all I can really work with, because this is what you've essentially said to me. This is what he's going to testify about. The first opinion is that Ms. Schabusiness was acutely intoxicated and impaired by acute methamphetamine use at the time of the alleged asphyxiation. The problem I'm having with that assertion is I'm not sure it's relevant given the status of the intoxication defense.
The judge is 100% right. It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. Intoxication isn't going to do it. So they can't testify about something that's irrelevant. You know, so if this witness is going to get on the stand and be like, Taylor Schabusiness was acutely intoxicated, no, they're not getting on the stand. They're not testifying about that. So the judge is like, nope, try again. What else you got?
So I'm not sure that having it here is going to assist you in that, but and I need you to understand where I am regarding that topic before you decide that's what you want to bring it here for. The next point is that the long-term and excessive use of methamphetamine has chronic brain damage consequences. The problem with that situation is I don't know that he is competent to diagnose chronic brain damage. So while he could assert that long-term excessive use of methamphetamine has chronic brain damage consequences, I don't think he's going to be qualified to testify that as a professional, I can say to a reasonable degree of certainty used in my profession that Ms. Schabusiness has chronic brain damage. Frankly,
Yep. See, there's no tie, right? So he is a expert in I'm not sure exactly what he's an expert in, but he's an expert in toxicology of drugs. And so he apparently can testify, yeah, meth can cause brain damage. Did it cause brain damage in Miss Schabusiness? How do you know that? How do you know that, right? You can't just, did you do some sort of scan? Did you look at her brain? Are you able to do that? Right? Are you some sort of person who can look at the brain and be like, oh, I recognize markers of damage to the brain because I'm an expert on the damage to the brain? So, yeah, she was intoxicated. Can't talk about it. It can lead to meth. It can lead to brain damage. Did it for her? I'm not confident this witness takes the stand. It's not going great for the defense over here.
I think the only opinion that's been asserted regarding her mental health condition as far as a diagnosis is bipolar, and that was done at Nicolay, and there's some dispute about whether that was an accurate diagnosis, but I don't know that one would qualify bipolar as being a chronic brain damage. So I'm concerned that if he's going to come in and start opining about that the connection won't be made. And then, of course, even if he is able to say that she does have chronic brain damage, the next step he has to take is that somehow that impacted responsibility. And I think there's a concern there as well. But I'm putting you on notice of that view that I'm starting to develop regarding the submission.
The judge is right.
The second bullet point is that long-term adolescent use of marijuana arrests brain development. Again, I'm not familiar with a diagnosis that any qualified psychologist or other professional qualified to make such a diagnosis has actually made in this case.
Yep.
I don't know that one equates brain development with bipolar. I've never heard that, but I'm not an expert. So the notion that you can opine that someone who uses marijuana as an adolescent might have brain damage, I'm not sure is going to be useful to this jury because we don't know if your client has that. And
yeah, I'm not. It doesn't seem like the defense has any witnesses that can take the stand. So phase 2 might be very short.
Ms. Schabusiness was not
because the defense has the burden of proof. So if they don't have any witnesses, well, that's the end of phase 2. It's going back.
He certainly, and again, I want to say, I'm satisfied that he's qualified as a pharmacologist. I'm not questioning his qualifications as that. Certainly, I reviewed his CV and listened to his testimony at the prior hearing. and he's a qualified pharmacologist for sure. But as far as psychiatric illnesses, again, the only thing that I've heard about from the testimony in the records is a bipolar diagnosis at Nicolay, which these other psychologists have repeated. So that the only thing that one could conclude from this assertion is that she was not treated with psychotropic drugs to control or mitigate her bipolar disorder. And then the question is, how does that impact responsibility? Many people have bipolar, so the next question you have is...
Some attorneys have bipolar.
is
I've known
someone who has
people in law school with bipolar.
Will the consequences be that you're unable to appreciate the responsibility in a criminal case? That's another concern I have with whether he's going to be qualified to even testify about that. The next point is psychotropic drugs do have efficacy in a large percentage of patients who take them. Well, I'm satisfied he'd be competent to testify about that. How that actually, first of all, how that relates to whether or not, what she has been diagnosed with, how that would affect an individual by taking psychotropic drugs, and can he say how it would have affected somebody to a reasonable degree of certainty used in his profession regarding the impact of untreated bipolar disorder. That certainly might be within the ken of your other expert, and I do want to indicate you have another expert who might be qualified to testify about some of these things, but I'm very skeptical that this witness is qualified to do so.
These witnesses sound like shit, Your Honor.
The final point is that
These witnesses sound like crap.
methamphetamine worsened her untreated psychiatric condition. So really, the issue is the impact of methamphetamine on untreated bipolar, and the impact of methamphetamine
These witnesses sound like they're pretty shit.
untreated bipolar on someone's responsibility to commit a crime. And I'm just concerned there as well that there's an inability to connect those dots with this expert.
Phase 2 might be
So,
very, very
while
short
I'm
because
willing
at this
to hear
point
from
the
your
judge
expert,
seems like
you've asked
he's
that, and I
he's
think
on the
state
brink
is
of disqualifying
undermined.
literally
We'll
all
need
the
a
defense
hearing
witnesses.
on Daubert here.
That's how
So
well it's
I'm
going for the
affording
defense right
an
now.
opportunity
At this
8:15
point, the
tomorrow
judge has
morning
basically said
to
there's a
bring
pretty good
Dr.
probability
O'Donnell in
that none of your
to
experts take the
opine
stand.
on some of this.
Hence
We
the
need to
end of
understand
the end of
the
phase
concern
2.
I have. It'll be a rather short Daubert hearing for this reason.
Yeah.
This proceeding tomorrow is in the nature of a civil proceeding, and I'm pretty certain the judge is not even mandated to hear testimony at a Daubert hearing. I can do a paper review and make a determination. And
Yeah, you're not
so I can
mandated
tell
to
you
do
that
it.
I've
You
done that
can,
paper
but you don't
review
have
so
to. You
far,
can
and
do it on
those are the
paper.
concerns that I have, and I'll want to drive directly at those issues tomorrow. I'm not going to want to.
It sounds suspiciously to me like the judge is, what he's saying is, I've looked at your paper filings. Your paper filings are trash. But if you want to bring in your witness on the hope that somehow they'll wow me, go nuts. That sounds like what the judge is saying.
Again, I want to indicate out of respect for Dr. O'Donnell, I'm satisfied that he's a very capable and competent pharmacologist, but I'm concerned about some of these opinions, particularly with the psychologists who would be rendering the diagnoses that he is referring to aren't even in agreement on it.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, that's where we're at. Let me just turn to the state. Mr. Saunders, questions on what I've indicated?
No, I don't.
Mr. Frail, questions on what I've indicated?
No, Your Honor, it's very clear.
All right, very good. We'll see
I hope
everyone
it's
then
clear,
tomorrow morning at
because what the judge is saying is that all your witnesses are shit, and there's a pretty good chance none of them take the stand. That's what the judge is saying right now. And the judge is right. The judge is right. He's completely right. And in a lot of ways, I'm happy that he's doing it, because a lot of judges seemed like they don't really take these Daubert or Fry or whatever the standard happens to be in whatever state you happen to be in. They don't take it seriously. There is a threshold role for a judge, and be like, I don't let shit in front of the jury. You can't just bring in shit. They have to be able to testify like to a reasonable degree of medical certainty or scientific certainty. And they have to be able to testify about her. That's the critical part about this equation. They have to be able to testify about her and how it impacts her. right? So you can't just have an expert come in and be like, yeah, meth is a hell of a drug. Meth is a hell of a drug, and if you use it for a lot of time, it impacts the brain. And pot, they call it dope for a reason, Your Honor. If you use a lot of dope, it can impact the formation of the brain and the reasoning centers. And the judge is over here like, okay, and that has what to do with Schabusiness exactly? What does that have to do with her exactly? What is the thing that this is true of her? Do you have like a neurologist? Do you have a psychiatrist? Do you have someone who can say that these things are true of her? They've done brain scans, or they've been able to determine that she has an adult brain from years. Yes, Your Honor. I have been a psychiatrist involved in treating patients with chronic drug uses for 20 years. And in my time, I have seen many, many people with brains that are completely addled by drugs. They have some markers that I can recognize based on my years of experience. And let me tell you, Your Honor, this woman has these markers. Here are the markers. These are the markers. They are clear indications of heavy drug use, and they show that her brain has been physically impacted, or her mind has been psychologically impacted, and this is true of her. Do you have anyone who could say something like that? That'd be great. And the answer seems to be no, right? I have someone who can be like, oh yeah, she was intoxicated at the time. We literally don't care. Someone could be such a heavy user that their brain could be addled. And it seems like that there's nothing. So I think there's a very decent chance at this point that the defense doesn't get any other witnesses on the stand. That seems like the direction this is going. In which case, it will be a very short phase 2, because there will be literally nothing for the jury to do, because there's no witnesses by the person who has the burden of proof, which in this case is the defense. So if the defense has no witnesses, that is the end of phase 2. And then we're just back to guilty. And the judge is completely right. The judge is absolutely right. So it's just going absolutely that well. It's going absolutely that well. So he's like, yeah, you can bring your people in tomorrow, and then we can have a Daubert hearing. It's going to be a short one, because the judge also cued you. He also cued you if you're paying attention. He's like, I don't need to bring these people in to hear from them. I can decide it on the papers. You're right. You're right. You can decide it on the papers if it's clear on the papers, right? If it's clear on the papers, then it's clear on the papers, right? I mean, why bring them in? Right? Why bring them in? Right? You basically do on the papers what you do. Basically, do an offer of proof. Basically, right? You do an offer of proof in written form. An offer of proof is just what a witness will testify to. Your Honor, here's our witness. Here's what they will testify to. Put it in writing. You've talked to your witness. You have a pretty good idea what they're going to say, right? You're calling them. You should have a pretty good idea what they're going to say, right? I mean, it's like, yeah, this is what they're going to testify to. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And so the judge is looking at it like, well, shit. I don't think I have to hear from them. You don't. But, I'll let you bring them in and see if you can sell me. And I don't know if the defense knows it's going as poorly as it is, but the defense says he understands. I'm not sure if he really understands, but hopefully he understands. It's going just as well as it is. So the court is supposed to start at 8:30. The jury is supposed to be there at 9:15. So hypothetically, this court is going to do all these Daubert hearings in 45 minutes. They could, right? Especially because, again, they can be a little bit more informal because they're not before a jury. They can be very formal. Of course, you can do it in a very formal style, but they don't necessarily have to be formal. They can be in a little bit more ad hoc. You saw a little bit of that this morning, with the technician expert, where the judge is basically doing all the questioning. And the lawyers are just there kind of like to bring on some stuff, and the judge is there asking all the questions. So yeah, that'd be kind of what you expect. The judge asks all the questions and like, do you have anything else? No? Great. They don't testify. Yeah, so the judge, the lawyers have to be there at 8:15, so they got an hour. They got an hour to do all these Daubert hearings. Excellent. but I think the judge has made up their mind. I think maybe, possibly, basically the best case scenario for the defense right now seems to be that one of these experts is going to be able to testify that she had bipolar. Maybe. That's that seems to be like about where as good as it's going to get. But even then, the judge points out, bipolar isn't in and of itself mean anything. There are people walking around with bipolar who are perfectly functioning members of society. And for that matter, there's people walking around who are psychopaths who are functioning members of society. Right? Just because you have a mental illness doesn't necessarily mean that that mental illness necessarily impairs you in a way that is relevant. You can have all kinds of mental illnesses that don't necessarily impair you in a way that's relevant. In some instances, they might actually be a benefit to you in particular instances. So, yeah, it's like, how does it impact her in a way that helps obviate her responsibility? How is it relevant to her? The mere fact she is bipolar. Yeah. Bipolar seems to be about as good as it gets right now. So maybe if she's lucky, the defense will be able to say that she has bipolar. And bipolar means that she's crazy. Okay. $5 from Tim says, found you originally, I think, on a couple collabs you did with Leonard French back in the day, covering patent law. Proud to see you flourishing. Well, thank you. Leonard French, first of all, Lawful Masses with Leonard French, if you're not familiar with that name, Leonard French predates everybody, at least in terms of the legal commentary. Some people's channels might go further back, but Leonard French is the OG law tuber. And he is responsible in a lot of ways for my channel existing. For about a year before this channel was ever created, I did collabs with Leonard French and sort of got my feet wet and then said, well, I'll do it too. So Leonard French is a cool guy. He moved overseas. And when he moved overseas, our friendship kind of faded because we weren't spending as much time with each other, which is fine. But I have no ill feelings to him, and I hope he's okay. And all that rest of it. He's an interesting guy. He wears a lot of very funny hats. So let's see what super chats were, because I didn't read some super chats, I think, from earlier today, and I wanted to acknowledge them. Where was I? Let's see. From our earlier stream, if I didn't read them, I'll read them now. Moniker002 has been a member for 33 months. Thank you very much. Julie, hit that join button. Thank you for your hitting the join button. It's very helpful. Shelly CCC is a member for 10 months. Thank you. Thank you for hitting the join button. Lila Quinatus, gifted 10 gift memberships. Thank you very much. Adam Traff gifted $20 to say, I'm so sorry, Kurt. That was when I was riffing, pretending to be Schabusiness and pretending what her testimony would look like in the best possible light. Tony P gifted 5 gift memberships. Thank you very much. Vixen gifted a gift membership. Thank you. Joyce gave $4.99. Laurie Lenny has been a member for 8 months. Thank you for hitting that beautiful, beautiful join button. Laurie Lenny then gave $6.99 Canadian. Say, do you have gift options turned on so I can gift from iPod? That's more an iOS thing than me. I don't think you can gift from an iOS device, but that's not because of me. So no, but it's not because of me. That's because of iOS. But I appreciate the $6.99 super chat in any event. Cool Springs has been a member for 12 months. Thank you very, very much as well. Brentwood Chic gifted 20 gift memberships. Thank you, Brentwood. That was nice. Arena Rod has been a member for 9 months. Arena Rod then gifted 10 gift memberships. Jennifer gifted 10 gift memberships, and Tim Riggs gifted 20 gift memberships. Thank you very much for all that as well. You can on other YouTube channels from iOS. Well, if that's true, I don't know why, and it's not due to me. The chili was fantastic. I'm eating it now as we speak. So if you can do gift memberships from iOS on other channels, I don't know why, and I don't know what setting I could possibly do to change it. Z Comer ZZZ is a member for 9 months, and Blythe Burke has been a member for several months. Thank you very much as well. Yeah, in that case, I don't know what the problem is. I have no ability to fix it. I'm sorry. Natalie Lorachek has it figured out on iOS. Maybe I'll ask her about it. If you're a brand channel, you can't receive gifts. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know anything about that. So I don't know what that's all about. I'll ask Natalie the lawyer chick about it, about gifting from iOS devices. If you can't do it, I don't know why. So she's been guilty, and we will be back tomorrow. Nate the lawyer's here. Hello, Nate the lawyer. Oh, I'm glad you're here, Nate the lawyer. I was just about to sign off. Do you want to pop on for a second and discuss this? There's not too much to discuss, but do you want to pop on? If so, I will send you a link, and we can talk about it for a second as I eat some chili. Sandra Ramirez, thank you very much for reminding people to hit the like button. $4.99 from Megan Farrell. Popping in to say hi, as always, enjoy your content. Thank you. And by the way, thank you for everyone who voted for me on Legal Mindsets polls recently. That was very nice. Nate is coming on? Okay. I'll send him a link. I'll send it to your Twitter, Nate. All right, it's in your Twitter. So hopefully you'll pop in a second. $1.99 from Bren. Video game controller gives thumbs up. Thank you. That's nice. Appreciate that. Nate is here. Hello, Nate the lawyer.
What's going on, brother?
Schabusiness is guilty. 40 minutes, baby. 40 minutes.
All counts, baby.
She is guilty. And it looks like there's a very strong possibility the defense will not be able to bring any of its witnesses for phase 2 at this point.
Why? Phase 2, you can get hearsay. Why can't they bring any of the witnesses?
Well, they want to bring a whole bunch of experts to testify that a person in general could have mental deficiencies from drugs. And the judge is like, yeah, but what are their evidence that she has these problems? Yeah.
A hypothetical versus a diagnosis.
Yeah, hypothetical versus diagnosis, yeah.
Well, I don't know. This is one of those this is one of those states that don't do the not guilty, right? You have to be guilty, then they do the mental disease or defect. So
yeah, they do it in a weird order, which I've never seen it done that way. So it'll be interesting, assuming it happens, which seems doubtful at this point.
But you know what, though? I always thought there was a constitutional issue with that, because so everyone understands legally you have to have both the actus reus and mens rea. So in a sense is only attacking the mens rea. The actus reus you have to give up. I did it, but I lack the mental state, which is insanity. So, to allow a conviction from someone who can't actually obtain the relevant mental state, I would assume is a constitutional violation. But there are strict liability crimes that you don't have to attain the mental state. For instance, statutory rape. So
I don't think that you're precluded from arguing lack of the mens rea from insanity in phase 1. I think you can do it and straight not guilty. I think you can.
But that's
I can't imagine I can't imagine it's improper.
Yeah, but let's say, well, maybe you're right. Maybe you can just argue a straight not guilty from the mens rea, but that's a hard pill to pop for the jury. No,
it is a hard pill to pop. In some states don't allow NGRI in any form because of exactly this, because they just fold it into intent. And the Supreme Court said that's fine. You can do that. Yeah, so you can fold it into not guilty, and then the consequences, you just go free.
Yes. No, well, if it's not guilty by reason of
but if it's straight not guilty in those states,
if it's straight not guilty
because you fold it in and you're saying, well, I'm insane, so I lack the mens rea, so straight not guilty, then you just go free.
Oh, no.
I mean, I suppose you could turn around and try to do a civil commitment. It just wouldn't come out of the criminal side.
Yeah, in most states that do that, what happens is that it'll be a straight not guilty. You're not guilty of the crime, but you'll then have a civil commitment if they do it by reason of insanity. So in other words, the jury's coming out to two conclusions. One, you're not guilty of the crime, you lack the mental state, but you also are mentally incompetent or mentally insane. So now you need treatment. And generally those people who now need treatment are there for the rest of their lives. They don't never get out, right? Because you'll never be. So that's the way the other states handle it.
So where are you? Are you at your house?
Yeah, I'm at the crib.
Well, where's the camera?
What if I got to turn my camera on? Give me a second. Let me turn it on.
We want to see your face. We love you.
Oh. Hold on.
We need to increase the beauty factor of this channel 300%.
Let me see. Is the camera on now? Yeah, there it is. All right.
Yeah. There's our man. Looking good, Nate.
You made me I had to go plug in my camera.
Nate, you'll be happy to know I was at the gym today. I went today between the case being closed and the verdict being announced. So I came back and ate, and I went to the gym and I lifted today. So I am continuing to get my swole on, Nate.
I thought this was going to be an easy case though. This is like, I'm surprised they didn't come back early, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no. I'm not sure what they talked about for 40 minutes of the 42.
Let's get some of that free court dinner. You know what I'm saying? Let's get some good dinner over here.
I don't know about all that. How's the Texas life treating you, sir?
Oh yeah, I'm fine. It's doing okay. You see my little back wall here?
Oh, it looks good.
I don't know which camera this is. My camera up here.
Yeah. And you actually have a set space for it now, as opposed to what you were doing in New York.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because it was in my living room, essentially my dining room. But now I
it was.
Yeah. But it was cool.
People saw how it was set up. Yeah, no, it looks good, man. You actually have a door that can close now.
Yeah, it's good for the kids because the kids just always run around. But now I can just talk as loud as I want, be inside here, and that'll be it. I'm drinking cognac, not cognac. Pineapple vodka. So
okay, I respect that.
I still had that lemon. What'd you give us? The lemon, whatever.
Yeah, I got you some Deep Eddy's lemonade and sweet tea flavored vodka.
Yeah, that's good too.
Some John Daly's.
Yeah, the sweet tea flavor vodka, the lemon flavor vodka is really, really good. I like it.
You do it together, so you get the full experience.
Yeah, because I call them make me drunk on Arnold Palmer's. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
that's what it is.
It's John Daly.
Yeah.
And you are going to be coming to Anime Matsuri because it's in your neck of the woods now. It's right next door.
Oh yeah. Oh,
that's coming up in 2 weeks, so that's exciting.
Well, it's exciting to say, well, you guys come down here though. That's going to be crazy. You, Chandler, what's his name? Vices. So, all you guys are
maybe Chandler and I will hit it off. What do you think?
Maybe. I like Chandler. Chandler's pretty cool, even though she's an anti-feminist. But
I don't know if she swings my way or not, but we'll find out.
Oh man, you know what? It's funny because now I'm getting some flack because you know how I cover all these weird cases. Yeah. So I'm covering that Carly case. Have you heard that case about the woman who disappeared and she lied and all that stuff?
The black woman who faked and said what age for an Amber Alert and did searches for the movie Taken.
Why not search for Gone Girl? Does this woman have no search history here? It's like you got to go Gone Girl if you're gonna try to So, but anyway, there were so many. So I was arguing with somebody the other day, and there were so many. So they were like, "Oh, they never do this," she shouldn't go to jail. So I literally pulled up 7 cases where it was a white woman who did the same thing. She faked a kidnapping, and each one went to jail. So I'm like, of course she should go to jail. Of course, that makes sense. But
well, I mean, to her credit, she did bail out of the thing relatively early. And in the experience, so that is a nice factor in mitigation. So I will give her that.
But how do you the fact that resources were spent, because that's what Jussie Smollett got caught up on, right? The fact that you have all these resources.
Well, Jussie Smollett denies it to this day, though. Yeah,
but just because that money spent, she should spend that money.
She should have to pay him back, but because she came forward, I'm willing to show her a little bit more. I'm a merciful guy. I wanted to show her a little bit more mercy because she came forward and she admitted that it was all made up and she was full of it, and she got in way over her head. She came clean.
She's got to pay. She's got to pay restitution though. Justice
must be tempered by mercy, Nate.
No, but that's what restitution is, mercy. I'm not sending you to jail, but I'm making you pay for the what we actually did.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a search. I got cops, I got people on overtime looking for you, and you faked it. So yeah.
No,
But
I'm comfortable making her pay for that.
But I want you to, you know what? I'm trying to say. I want you to listen to this because this is crazy, right? So listen to this. Now, this is an argument. This guy has like 5 million followers or something. So I'm about to share this thing, but I want you to listen.
Man, we're getting dominated, man. Damn.
About what?
5 million followers.
Oh yeah. But listen to what this guy says, and I want your opinion on it because I want to show you something right after this. Listen to this.
That was an isolated incident. Okay, I will repost in my story any case of a missing black woman or child because the reality, according to the Black and Missing Foundation, nearly 40% of missing people in America are black women and black children, people of color, right? You can go to blackandmissinginc.com to see the disparity yourself. It was damn near 600,000 missing people in 2022. 57% were white, including Hispanic. 39% were minorities. So once again, almost 40% of missing persons are people of color, but we only make up 13% of the population.
So that's essentially what I want you to hear. So essentially saying 40% of the people who are missing are black, even though they make up 13% of the population. Is that what you heard?
I did.
All right. Now, all of that is BS. These are all so because I actually went to the site that he quotes because I was like, oh, it's an interesting stat. I've never heard that before. Let me go. But now I want you to put your lawyer hat on because you're one of the few people who can put your lawyer hat on. Right. Now those stats for the chat, those stats were fake. They're made up. They're not made up, but they're fake stats. Now you'll see why in a second. So check this out. Now I want you to
Are we playing with definitions?
No, not definitions. This is just pure logic. All right, so this is where he got it from, right? 57% includes Hispanics, 39% minority. But I want you to read this statement right here because this is a statement that they use. Read that statement.
Nearly 40% of missing persons are persons of color. Yet African Americans only make up 13% of the population. Well, those are two different things.
Exactly. And that's what he's quoting. So when you actually look at the numbers,
those are two different things.
When you actually look at the numbers, persons of color include Asians, include everywhere, even Hispanic.
Well, it includes everyone who's not white and Hispanic, apparently.
Exactly. So this African Americans make up only 13% of the population. That has nothing to do with that 40% number. Matter of fact, it's something like 20% of the missing population. But
that website is bad because that's like those two numbers are disconnected.
Yeah. So what I did is I said,
website.
Yes. So no, but this is who this guy is citing. This is who this guy is citing. This guy citing this website. Now, one of the funniest parts about it is that I was arguing with somebody about this. So I just started replacing all the numbers. So I said, okay, nearly 40% of the missing person, because they were like, oh, it's obviously true. So I was like, okay, I'm going to say it so it's true about 5 times. Nearly 40% of missing persons are persons of color, yet Asians make up only 3% of the population. Versus, then I kept saying Native Americans make up only 1% of the population. The two sentences aren't.
Yeah, they have nothing to do with each other.
Yeah. Now this guy's telling millions of people that 40% of the people who are missing are black, even though their stats are both BS. So,
unless black people are the only people of color, which would also be an interesting revelation, I suppose.
And then the funny thing is
so we really are in a white-black dichotomy. Either you're black or anything else. Literally any other option. The white race continues to grow by leaps and bounds every passing moment.
The wildest part about this is that when you actually go to the census data, because you had to go to the census and then I went to the FBI, so I looked up all the numbers. I'm insane like that. So I went and looked it up. Even their numbers don't like where it says 57% white, including Hispanic, that 39% also includes Hispanic. That's because the federal government doesn't consider being Hispanic a race. It's
right. It doesn't. Correct.
Yes. So both of these numbers actually include Hispanic.
Both of the numbers include Hispanics.
Yes.
That's great.
So it's even worse than that. So it's like this is just like ridiculous. So, did I catch you? Because I know you're probably been getting out of here too. You're wrapping up.
First of all, you're my friend. Second of all, I haven't talked to you in a while. Third of all, I want to spread the good news that you have moved out of the hellhole that is New York and are now living in a reasonable state. And also that I'm planning on moving to be near you in like January, which I'm very excited about. This is good stuff. As soon as I'm trying to finish out my improv classes here in Austin, and then I'm gonna convince you to leave your wife and move in with me, and we're gonna have Content House.
That'd be great. That'd be great. But it's funny. I finally got my Texas, firearm, so I'm like very happy about that now.
Ooh, what'd you get?
I want to keep it quiet. No, but I got a 9mm. Very simple. I'm actually going to get a 38 because I'm more comfortable with a 38. But I just got a 9mm to start off with.
Yeah, there's plenty of good 9mm these days.
Oh yeah. It wasn't something reliable, something simple. It's something I was already used to. So,
did you enjoy the long, hard process of getting a firearm in Texas? Did you enjoy the many steps you had to go through?
Yes, but no, you got to fill out those applications and stuff like that. There is
you have to fill out a whole page.
but at least you get it that same day. And on top of that, one thing I do like is that is the fact that because I got kids, so I got to get the locks and all that shit. But it's like it wasn't too far. It was like right there at the academy. I don't know if you know Academy. I just went to Academy.
Okay. No, in particular. I mean, there's many great gun stores. So
yeah. Well, this is a big one in Texas. Well, around here. So I was like, no, cool.
Would it take you all of about 5 minutes?
No, I was in there for a little while too, because I was doing a hop around too.
Slow roll.
All right. I was getting like an AR-15, but my wife was like, "What are you fucking saying?" I was like, "No, like
AR-15s are Barbies for men because they get so many accessories and attachments.
What do you think about this Hunter Biden thing, though, bro?
Which one? You have to narrow it down because there's so many things that are happening all the time.
So you know what happened today? Hunter Biden.
What happened today?
All right, so he went in to plead guilty on the tax issue. Now this is for the chat, not for Kurt. So I'm going to explain this so the chat understands. So generally, when you go to plea bargain based on a transaction that happened, in this case, tax evasion, the government has to bring all the charges. And if you plead guilty, then that's it. It's done, right? They can't now come and find and say, hey, well, not only do you do tax evasion, you did this thing, right? The whole transaction is done.
Yeah.
So when they went into court, the judge was like, okay, or is he still being investigated for something? And they were like, yes. So then the judge was like, well, okay, does this plea bargain get rid of everything else? And they were like, well, we're not sure. So then she was asking the defense attorney, well, are you sure? And they were like, we're not sure. So essentially he was going to plead guilty to this one little transaction, but they weren't sure if it was going to clear everything else up. So the judge said, I can't allow him to plead guilty if I know exactly the extent of the plea bargain. So it's breaking down.
They rejected the plea?
She can't take the plea.
It's
an improper plea.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
I love it.
So now they have to figure out, because don't forget, I
missed that memo.
He has to, but now they got to figure out how extensive is the plea. Is the plea giving you, is he going to get the whole thing, or is it just going to, So it's going to be, it's getting interesting.
I mean, that's fair enough. I mean, what does the plea cover and what doesn't it cover? It's kind of important to be clear about,
Yeah.
And the U.S. government itself doesn't know what it covers and doesn't cover. That's like, okay, well, that's problematic. But it's good on the judge for actually paying attention. You would have thought they would just rubber stamp it.
Oh yeah. But that's hopefully that's what an independent judiciary is for, right?
You hope so, but actually finding someone to actually be able to do that. So no plea deal, huh?
Yeah, it was funny because I was arguing with I think that's uncivil. I bet you Joe and Ricada, because Ricada was on Joe's stream, and Ricada believes that the president is the most powerful. The presidency, Article 2, is the most powerful branch of government. And I was like, nah. It's Article 1 for sure. Because Article 1 funds everything. They can get rid of everybody. It's Article 1. They intentionally left that the more powerful one, even though there's 3 co-equal branches. But if they want, they can just impeach everybody else, and you only have a thing. And then guess who takes those jobs? So
they can also change the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court on appellate jurisdiction.
Yeah.
So they can impeach everyone. They can fund everyone. Yeah, the Congress has. Yeah. If they get 535 people to agree on something, they can run shop.
Yeah. And then I even said the reason why it's the most powerful, because then they were trying to go into history of the king. I was like, no, just go to the Articles of Confederation. There was no president. It was only Congress. It was their own show, right? And that's why they broke it up, because they were like, even if we just have one Congress, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Somebody puts mass impeachment.
I didn't know anything about this. Oh, yeah. Do I?
Yeah, from Tim Riggs. Tim Riggs says
stats have been my job for nearly 2 decades. I can make any data set tell whatever story I want better than the website just showed. Yeah, especially if you do p hacking or some other statistical tricks. Sure.
What you were saying?
P hacking for statistics?
No, before this, you read the super chat.
Oh, I don't know. I was going to look up the thing about the Hunter Biden thing. Look up an article because I was curious what was going on.
Yeah, but that's essentially the extent of it. Hunter Biden his plea deal is in jeopardy. But if all things go to hell, that's my kid. I'm pardoning them, and I'll take the political hit. I know. What's his name doesn't doesn't want it, but that's it. And the judge's reasoning is correct too. I know the Democrats are going to say it's a witch hunt. The judge is corrupt, but
we entered a plea, but it's sort of this weird plea. It's like, without me saying I'll take the plea agreement, what do you plead? So yeah,
no, okay. So there is a plea agreement, but how?
So he pled not guilty. Yeah, because there's no plea agreement.
Yes, but the problem is that the plea agreement essentially what's the limits of the plea agreement? That's what the judge is saying. What's the limitations of this plea agreement? So, but if he's your son now, well, I think if Biden loses the election, Hunter gets he pardons Hunter for everything, and then if he wins, he also pardons Hunter. Like, I would let all this.
Oh yeah, I mean, he can always pardon Hunter to solve the problem, which would just be hilarious. I agree with that.
Why would you do it? I would do it for sure.
I don't know. Hunter Biden was placed under oath and told by the district judge in appointing of Donald Trump they want to enter a plea of guilty. He then asked serious procedural questions. As things dragged on, he quizzed the lawyers from both sides about the particular tax deal and sussed out a disagreement between the parties. Does the deal protect Hunter from possibly facing additional charges for FARA? Justice said no, but Biden said yes. Without a meeting of the minds, therefore there is no deal. Yeah. Hunter Biden absolutely violated FARA.
Oh yeah.
He completely violated FARA for sure.
If they got Flynn for that, so definitely they got him.
Oh yeah, no doubt, he violated FARA. FARA because FARA is, if you're an agent for a foreign government, you got to register, and he is absolutely an agent for a foreign government because people have been convicted for working for the exact same Chinese energy for not registering. So it's not even clear.
No, let me speak like a Democrat now. No, it's a witch hunt. They're just
after a break. He accepted. He said they announced they were still at risk for possible FARA.
Yeah. No.
He said they have constitution about the constitution of the gun deal because it might violate separation of powers. Because it was not straightforward and was atypical. Expressed frustration and two-side structure the deals in a way that she need to approve the gun deal, but no power to accept or reject the tax agreement. I need to get a transcript. I need to get a transcript of this is what I need. I need a full fat transcript of this hearing. That's what I need in my life.
Yeah, but that's it. I think this is an easy thing. It's just like, it is what it is.
That was my chili alarm coming off, by the way, because I set it for a 7-hour thing. So for those of you who heard the beeping, it was my chili finally finishing completely cooking, although it was ready when I came in. So my chili is very good. I made chili.
Oh, that sounds good. I have to go shoot. I have 2 videos I have to shoot.
Rice, beans, and meat, some cheese.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah.
What do you got coming up on the channel? What do you got? What do you shoot?
Well, tomorrow we'll be doing more Schabusiness stuff for as long as that lasts. For as long as it lasts. $5 from Tim Riggs. I guarantee Hunter commits state prosecutable crime somewhere. Whereas the state AG would have stones to bring charges. Yeah. So we'll be doing more Schabusiness tomorrow. Yeah, we'll be doing more Schabusiness tomorrow for sure. And also probably the crimes of other countries, by the way. I would imagine between Ukraine and China, the crimes of other countries, some international exposure. But we'll be doing more Schabusiness tomorrow, and then just going back to the regular daily videos whenever I get a chance.
Yeah, I'm thinking. So you're gonna? I thought so Schabusiness is not over.
No. We're on to phase 2 about the NGRI starting tomorrow.
Oh yeah. But she's not getting an NGRI. She's going, that's it. That's
$5
it.
from
You know
Tim
what?
Briggs. Clearly, having a last name as Schabusiness is his deciding factor in lacking mental capacity. Agree completely. Selena, £5 with the keep it up emoji. Rose has been a member for 12 months.
Oh.
Tim gave the comment about stats and Yaskiza asked, can Biden pardon him if he's found guilty and Lahayim? Yes, although he doesn't need to be found guilty. The president can pardon anyone anytime after, if for federal crimes, of course, anytime after the crime has been committed. They don't need to be charged or even know that they exist. The president can pardon Biden literally at any time, which in this case is the son. But yeah.
So Legal Mindset had a stream and they voted you best live stream?
Yeah. They voted me most improved live stream yesterday, and they voted me best live stream today. It was nice. They love me, Nate. People love me.
It is nice. That's fantastic.
People love me. People say that I'm getting better, and that they can see improvement in me between the workouts and taking steps to improve my mental health. They say I'm getting better, Nate. It's really encouraging.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Hey, what do you think about this Twitter X thing? This thing is freaking me out.
It's stupid as hell.
He's destroying the company. X.
Yeah.
This is crazy. Oof, well, listen, brother. Let me go because I got two videos I gotta shoot. But I think this was great old school stuff.
Yeah.
This is like an old school hang.
Yeah.
What do you think about my
It
wall?
doesn't have to be complicated. Looks
well,
good. I like the silver play button right there on the wall. It looks good.
Yeah, my license. That's my license over there, my New York license. And that's the New York diploma.
New York license looks good.
Yeah. Trying to make it a little bit more gamey, but I don't know. I don't know. I just feel like I think I have to get a better camera or something like that because I feel like it's just too far back from me.
Yeah,
but you can still see it though. I don't know. It's like weird.
All right. Well, I like my camera. I got the Sony Alpha 5100, and I
know your camera's great, and I like the way you did it because I'm gonna get those lights like you did yours in the background. Those lights are fucking awesome.
Philips Wiz, and to be specific.
Ooh,
you get them at Home Depot. They're great. Well, anyways, I'm going to sign off as $10 from I Love Adblock. Have some money for your good work. Thank you. I Love Adblock. I'm going to sign off as well. My guest has been Nathan Lawyer. We will be back on tomorrow. Ask Your Skis. It says, Kurt, remember the quality that is you is better than quantity. Thanks. That's very kind. We will be back on tomorrow at 8:15 probably. I've been on Civil Law. My guest has been Nate. Until later, I hope all is well. Cheers, my friends, and goodbye.